If you're watching this video, there is a good chance you already realized something very important. Your company probably needs a CRM. Well, maybe you already have one and it feels messy, disconnected, or difficult to use. Maybe you are only now thinking about implementing a CRM for the first time. Either way, there is one thing about CRM systems in construction particularly that almost nobody explains properly. Construction companies do not sell the same way the normal businesses do. Now, let me give you a completely unrelated example. Imagine you own a coffee roasting company. You sell coffee beans to cafes, restaurants, hotels, maybe office chains. Your customer relationship management revolves around one central thing: the customer account itself. You build long-term relationships with recurring buyers. Your CRM is built around companies and contacts. Construction, on the other hand, works differently. In construction, even though you still talk to customers and contractors and architects and procurement teams, the real center of the sales process is usually not the customer. It is the project. A construction site, a building, a job, a tender, a specification package. That one thing changes everything. A roofing supplier does not simply sell to company X. They sell into specific roofing project with its own life cycle, deadlines, contractors, architects, approvals, and bidding process. Now, the same applies to curtain walls companies, facade manufacturers, hydro isolation firms, structural suppliers, HVAC subcontractors, and many others. And this is exactly where many CRM implementations fail in construction. Companies buy CRM systems designed around a simple account pipelines, while their actual sales process revolves around projects moving through construction phases. This video is specifically for construction companies that understand this difference, or maybe just discovered it right now. You know your sales process is tied to project stages. You know one project can involve multiple contractors. You know opportunities appear months after specification work starts if you happen to sell specifications. And you know that duplicate quotes, disconnected sales reps, and lack of project visibility can really squeeze your margins down. That is what we are going to cover today. If you're new here, I'm Jeff Tilley and I am CRM consultant. And this video is sponsored by my company, Monthly. If after watching this video you realize you need help with CRM selection, implementation, or fixing an existing setup, you can find my company details in the description below. On that note, let's jump to the video. For whom is this video? This video is for companies that sell project by project in construction. That covers few groups. General contractors who run the build. Suppliers of construction materials whose product is named in the design. And the more advanced subcontractors like curtain wall or glass facade firms, roofing material sellers, hydro isolation foundations, and structural specialists. It also fits any team that follows one project lifecycle in different forms, but most importantly is that business is linked to project building stage or phase. Now, for who this video is not for. If you sell on account basis, this video is not for you. For example, a local roofing company that sells to the same property managers, a plumbing firm with regular residential customers, an electrician on a service contract with building owner. If you are in this industry, the work is closer to a service business or manufacturing business than a project business. The tools that are needed are completely different, and I will cover this in a separate video. Now, once we have sorted this out, it's time to ask proper questions. And the answers to these questions will define what kind of CRM system you are going to need. And the first question is, how big is your company? So your company size really decides the path you're going to go. There are three paths you can take here, depending on your company size. If you have 2 or fewer salespeople or customer service people, for example, you have one guy doing quotes and one guy doing phone calls, that's just not enough for a CRM system. And good old Excel or Google Sheets with a Google form for your inquiry submissions would do the job just fine. You don't have this massive overheads of having a lot of salespeople doing the same job. You don't have to standardize the process. So if you have 2 or less people doing the same job, don't go with CRM system. You don't need it. If you have 2 and up to approximately 25 people in your sales and customer service, this is the sweet spot for CRM system. Essentially, this video will give you a very good answer of the path you should take. Now, if you are bigger than 25, and again, this is not a written in stone threshold, this is a relative measure. It could be like 27 people, it can be, 11, it can be 37. It's just approximate number of people doing the same job. It's just like a threshold, just give you some sort of idea. So if you have more than 25 people doing the same job, you will have to be looking at something more sophisticated than just CRM system. You will be needing something like ERP software that will support your quoting, pricing mechanisms. We're not covering this in this video. And CRM is only the beginning that you are going to need. So keep watching this video, because this first part that I'm going to discuss today in this video will explain you the first step you need to take, which is a great time to ask the second question. Are you trading or are you specifying? Now, what does that mean? Trading means that every deal, or as we call it professionally, opportunity, ends up with money. You might ask, how on earth a deal could end up with no money? And the answer is very simple. For those companies that are involved in so-called specification business, a lot of construction, especially manufacturers and companies that own their own product, would work with architects and would work with designers and engineers to specify their product. And oftentimes their sales process almost never would end up with a sale, because after an architect has specified a product, the engineer has specified anything on the project, most likely the project is going for a tender to find the right subcontractor. And this is the subcontractor who is going to come later to you with an ask, hey, can you give us a quote? Now, if you are in a trading business, you are in a very good position to use pretty much any CRM system out there that is capable of managing pipelines. Suppose you are a roofing contractor. You know the roof size, so you know approximate amount of money that roof is gonna cost your customer. So you have amount on your deal. You know approximate close date. You know when the customer needs that roof to be done. With these two numbers in mind, you can start using any CRM system on the planet that supports pipeline management. The reason I'm saying this is because a lot of pipeline management systems are built around this very concept. When you have close date and you have an amount, it has a plethora of built-in reports. It has a lot of forecasting tools that will support your process. You don't have to build anything. So if you are a subcontractor or you are in this trading business, you are very well positioned to start using a pipeline management system. This is a really good position to start. Now, if you specify your product, this is a little bit more difficult, because then you will be creating a so-called non-trading agreement. Now, let me explain what a non-trading agreement means. Essentially, by the end of the pipeline, you are not selling. You are not closing a deal. You are specifying a product. Now, this is less about construction and more about manufacturers, so I'm not going too deep into here, but I need to touch it. For example, architect puts your curtain wall, your roof system, your hydro isolation, or your structural piece into the document. Then nothing happens for a while, and months later, sometimes a year later, contractor quote the build and start sending you requests for price. Two things make this hard for a normal pipeline CRM. First, in the early phase, you have no fixed price and no fixed close date. The tool, CRM, wants both. You cannot give either one. What I mean by that is all the standard CRM systems, when they think about a deal, or as some call it, an opportunity, they all require one field, which is called amount, and you will not give that amount to that CRM system. Well, of course, you can estimate that by the end of the deal when you successfully close it, but you will not conduct a sale by the end of the process. Now, the second problem is that once you have specified a product on the project, you will then, after some time, sometimes even a year later, see this specification coming from multiple subcontractors, and you need a tool that would allow you to send them quotes that do not compete with one another. In other words, if John Doe number 1 and John Doe number 2 came to you asking for a quote for a roof, you need to be sure that you're sending the same quote for John Doe number 2 and John Doe number 1. Because John Doe will not mention which job site they are talking about. They will avoid telling you which project they are trying to win at any cost, and you will have to be very, very specific in your sales process to try and identify if this is the specified project or not. So you have to link them together, even if two different people are selling to the very same project. Now, CRM allows to solve this problem, but not out of the box. Let me give you an example. Imagine we are building a hospital in London. The National Health Service runs a tender to find an architect. The architect wins. You spend a year working with that architect to get your product specified in the project, and the architect finishes and submits it for approvals. Then 3 contractors come back to your team. They reach 3 different sales reps, and all 3 are asking for a quote on the same site. If your sales reps cannot see they're working on the same project, you will give 3 different prices for the same scope. The lowest price will, of course, win, and your margin will be squeezed. And this is exactly why, while specification works are technically within the construction system, they are a little bit more sophisticated and a little bit different from other CRM processes. When I say a little bit more sophisticated, I mean you will need a project space inside your CRM system. Imagine it as a folder for each project. The folder sits next to opportunities, which is a CRM language for potential deals. Many opportunities can connect to the same project. So when 3 subcontractors ask for 3 quotes, you go inside that folder, and any rep can open that folder and see what already has been quoted. Contacts, contractors, the architects, and the building permit number all live in the same folder. Now, before we get to the tools, there is one very important thing you need to do before you start choosing your software. You need to know which stages your team sells in. Most CRMs do not understand the construction lifecycle out of the box, so you will configure your sales stages around it. So this is your homework that you will have to do inevitably if you want to implement or modify your existing CRM system. All that means is you have to describe how your process or how your sales work. What are the stages they are taking in order to make a sale? Now, construction projects usually follow the same life cycle wherever in the world you live. Idea, planning, design, tender, build, maintenance, and renovation. This is a high-level construction project life cycle. It may happen that in your particular case, you might want to go one step deeper. For example, the build phase is actually a large headline that includes many other stages like groundworks, foundations, structural works, roofing, fit out, pipelines, and so on and so forth. Once you're done with the sales process, you are pretty much ready to start looking into CRM systems. And yet again, I'm overly simplifying this for YouTube, but high level, it's really that simple. So I'll give you 3 solutions, 1 per different tier, which we discussed before in this video. And you will be the judge. You will make the decision which CRM system fits you best. And let's start with a small tier for a smaller teams. And usually for companies that are selling so-called trading agreements. The system is called Pipedrive. Pipedrive is one of the best, if not the best CRM systems for simple, straightforward sales processes, especially when you are in a construction and you actually sell projects and you operate in a trading agreement business, which means you have an amount that you are discovering throughout your quoting process. Honestly, this is probably the simplest, quickest, and cheapest system to implement because it pretty much has every single tool you need out of the box. It has so-called pipeline management. Remember, I just explained how your construction process works. The stages of your construction projects become your pipeline, and a pipeline is essentially just a number of steps described one after another. So you build all those steps as your pipeline. You start throwing project name inside of it. You start attaching contacts to each project card, and that's it. Then you simply put the next step next to each of those cards, and that's all you need. And it's very easy to implement. It has email integration, it has phone integration, though honestly, in construction, I almost never seen anybody implement a phone system. But it's super easy to do. Overall, it's a very easy system to implement, and I really love it. Now, the trade-off is that it is very limited in how much you can customize it. If you want to grow, if you have ambitions and you want something more sophisticated than just tracking next steps, then this becomes a different story. Maybe you want more advanced quoting. Maybe you want to implement some kind of specialized tooling like design software, for example. This is where Pipedrive becomes a no-go. Technically, you can still do these things with enough time, money, and expertise, but honestly, it's just not worth it. It's extremely well fitted for smaller construction companies, roughly somewhere between 2 and 10 people. Anything beyond that, I personally would not go with the system. Next comes Attio, and Attio is a new kid in the hood. The Attio is a company that was founded in 2019, so that's a very new company. but it's a very interesting CRM system. And this system would support any type of construction process. It can support the process where you are selling trading agreements. It can support process where you are selling non-trading agreements. But the biggest downside of Attio is that it has nothing readily available out of the box. You will have to build everything. But by build, I mean you will have to configure everything in that system. It's extremely flexible, but it's also its biggest weakness. You will have to hire somebody like me. I don't say that you have to hire me, exactly me. You can find somebody locally. But you will have to hire somebody with expertise in systems, somebody who will configure that system for you. I personally started using Attio like a month ago for the sake of creating a YouTube review. And the more I use it, the more I start loving it. And I'm not affiliated yet with Attio, though I have submitted an inquiry to become their partner. I want to see what their partner offering is, because that's a genuinely good product. What you need to know as an average John Doe who works in construction and doesn't have a degree in IT sciences is that you can chat with it. Now, if you're already using ChatGPT or Gemini or whatever you're using there, you can do the same with Attio. It has a homepage where you have pretty much everything you need to know about your current day, your tasks, your open opportunities, and a chat. You just chat with the system, hey, create a new lead for me, and it will create a new lead for me. You can copy paste the information from your email. It actually reads your email. It builds context from your email. It's an extremely powerful tool. Yet again, you will have to spend some time and money customizing it and implementing that into your business. But that's a really great middle ground option if you are between, I would say, 5 and 25, 30-ish people, and you want to build something that will last for years and something that is truly fitting your business. Attio is a really great option, especially if you are in a non-trading agreement business, if you are specifying products for the construction projects. Now, here comes the final option. And the final option is something I have been more than 10 years together, and something that de facto has become an industry standard. And that is no other than Salesforce. I have sort of love-hate relationship with Salesforce because Salesforce can do pretty much everything. It can do things you don't really need. It fits every possible and impossible purpose you can think about it. But the problem with Salesforce is it's getting extremely outdated. And I don't know how much of a problem this is in the construction industry, considering the level of expertise people have in that industry, and highly likely you are not building an IT company around your CRM system. But the problem is that I'm now using Attio, which is essentially a very immature clone of Salesforce. It's just Salesforce in its early stages done right. This is the feeling I'm getting from the Attio. Salesforce has its own AI agent, which is called Agentforce, which is shit, to be frank. It doesn't work. It is buggy. It's not delivering. We've tried implementing with a couple of customers, and I even almost published a very excited video about Agentforce in the beginning when Agentforce just appeared, but I decided to hold off and do a couple of tests before I published that video. And honestly, last year we weren't able to launch agents that would work reliably. Now it's a little bit better, but it's just uncomparable to what other systems can do. Anything that can connect with ChatGPT is way more powerful than Salesforce probably ever gonna be. And the reason is because Salesforce is a very outdated system. It has been built in 1990s, in the late 90s, and the core technology behind Salesforce, how good it looks now, even with all those recent design updates, it's just a facelift of a very old system. Though, if you are a conventional company, if you want to be on a safe side and you want just a straightforward customer relationship management, classical, with no additional bells and whistles, Salesforce is a really safe bet. If you ask me in the morning, 5 a.m., wake me up and ask me, hey, Jeff, what system to choose, to guarantee that it's gonna, work, if done right, if you found the right partner that knows how Salesforce works, I would say that is Salesforce, because Salesforce has the biggest ecosystem of consultants. Salesforce has the biggest out-of-the-box features. Salesforce has a gazillion of different apps, including for construction industry. It is integrated with pretty much any tool on the market available. And if you ask me, Salesforce is the safe path. But I'm saying this without love, to be frank, because even though Salesforce made me a career and I built my company around Salesforce, I frankly think it's losing. It's losing this arms race of technology, and it's been a great journey with Salesforce. I mean, I still can recommend it, but honestly, the farther we go with this AI thing, the more I start thinking that soon will come the day where I will stop recommending it just because AI is so useful. We are seeing the technology getting more and more mature. Mature means that normal people can start using. You can start talking with your CRM system. You don't have to open your laptop and you don't have to do anything. You just talk with it. This is the reality I'm having right now with Attio. I connected the system with my Claude. Claude is just glorified ChatGPT that has an access to different tools through special protocol, which is called MCP. You don't have to know this, just take my word for it. But it's a completely different life when you can talk with your CRM system, especially when you're back to back on the phone calls, when you are on the road. You just, hey, remind me calling this customer, chinks, done. And the system reminds you. So these are three options. Pipedrive for pretty much everybody who is in a trading agreements and have a straightforward pipeline and don't want to have anything sophisticated. Attio for everybody else who is okay with a little bit of effort hiring consultants to build something a little bit custom. Salesforce is for those who have money to spend and who are okay hiring consultants for building something a little bit customized, though you can get away with the readily available apps from the App Store, but it's gonna cost you more than Attio or pretty much any other system on the market gonna cost you. So these are my three systems that I would go with. It doesn't mean that others don't exist. I just think that these three are currently the best options for anybody in a construction industry, considering that in construction, you have this specificity of selling projects, not just closing deals. You don't have this conventional customer relationship thing. That said, if you like this video, mind hitting thumbs up because that helps algorithm understand that you like this video. Subscribe for more because I'm not only reviewing CRM systems and explaining by different business verticals, how we call it in marketing. I'm also sharing some tips on how to make CRM actually work for you. Don't forget that this video is sponsored by my company Monthly. If you want to hire me or one of my lovely colleagues, link in description below. On that note, let me know in the comments below what else you want to know about CRM systems, whether this is in construction in particular or it's just generally about CRM systems. Your comments really help me come up with these videos. On that note, thanks for watching. See you next time. Peace.